Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 59 of the Spy Squadron podcast. We are back with our stand-up mics on our stand-up routine. It's going to be a tight hour.
Hi. Tough crowd.
Not a single laugh.
A lot of comments about Blue.
I think this is actually your guys' fault. You guys just aren't funny.
That's my favorite part is when they get heckled and they're like, no, you just don't understand my joke. You don't understand my joke. I really like that.
We're back with the tier list. I almost forgot the name of it then for a second, but we're back with the tier list. What are we tier listing?
Meta leaders for set 2.
This is our official meta tier list for set 2. What you should be playing and what you should be running. We are not ranking every single leader because
only the
that
good
will
ones.
take us 7 hours because we can't stop talking and we already have gone on many tangents. This thing makes me go on so many more tangents.
You always feel more powerful when you hold a microphone.
Oh, absolutely.
It's yes and. But I think we're going to be talking about the leaders that have topped the most in recent events. And we're going to be talking about why they're placed there briefly. Before we do that, we do have a lot of spoilers.
We do.
A lot of legendaries came out.
Again, we're filming a little bit early, so there will be one more leader that we aren't talking about.
I bet it's going to be a Sarge Ventress.
Ooh.
But you guys will know that. You guys will know that before this video comes out.
I think it's going to be some random character that we're not expecting again.
I love Glop Shitter. Speaking
of random characters that no one
Shitters.
did. What Tembo,
Techno
baby?
Union Foreman.
This is the rare command villainy leader.
Certainly, we thought it was going to be Trench. We were wrong because
I'll
Trench...
tell you what, though. He slaps.
Yeah, What Temple's actually
He's
pretty good.
real good.
This is the guy that defiled Echo. He's the one who whacked that bad boy up and made him a bad dad. That's true. It is, and you can quote me on that. I've made two raunchy comments. One last video, one this video, and neither of them were intended.
But his ability is action, tap him. If a friendly unit was defeated this phase, give a unit +2/+2 for the phase.
So this is really good for exploit.
It's really, really
and it's
good.
really, really good in just any deck that wants to trade.
It's also really, really good into any deck that, likes removing your units.
Yeah, if someone's going to kill something, cool. Give something else +2/+2 and swing.
This is nuts. Honestly, this is crazy. Like his ability is
so good.
Very, very good.
He's also an official, which a separatist as well, which I think is relevant. We are seeing a lot of officials now, and I'm starting to see cards like this with a more mid to late game focus that genuinely I kind of want to run Emperor's Royal Guard.
Well, this is a weirdly aggro version of... we have Tarkin and we have Moff Gideon who take on that kind of more aggro version of... But this is a...
This is a direct
This is almost as dirty as Kylo.
I like this into Boba, where you're like, cool, kill my stuff. I'll buff up my other guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you kill my 1/1, and I make this guy a 5/5.
The fact that it's not just +2/+0
no, it's
is
+2/+2,
huge.
so
It's massive.
Yeah.
Having it so that it is that +2/+2, getting the health as well. So if you do buff something up, it has a better chance of surviving. Massive. Huge.
This guy works absolutely incredibly well. As we know, I think this is going to be a great mono green aggro leader. If you didn't check out last week's gameplay, go check it out. I play mono green Tarkin, and in that, I ECL in our old favorite, the little 5-cost trooper, Steadfast Battalion. I think that unit works incredible in this because you can be like, cool, swing this into trade here, pay 5, ECL this in, kill that. +2/+2 to it, then you swing Watambor, +2/+2 to something else. Speaking of which, Watambor, he flips at 5, and that's why this is relevant.
Yep.
He is a 3/6 on his flip side, and on attack, if a friendly unit was defeated this phase, give another unit +2/+2 for this phase. So
absolutely
on
huge.
attack. So you can outflank with him. You can outflank with him and attack with him, and then give something +2/+2, and then attack with that immediately after. I think outflank is huge in this deck.
Absolutely, and I think... Watambor as a 3/6 5 flip.
That's good.
Huge.
That's good.
Absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. We've seen quite a lot of the 2/7. But I think this 3/6 is a better stat line.
I agree.
I think as a stat line goes, it's better, and also it being at 3 is absolutely huge because you get all of the untap.
Yeah.
So all of the untapped stuff, we have I'm not really using aggression, but if you are going that red, you can use the stuff like this one with Wolf on it, where he's keep fighting.
Yeah.
And ready him again for 2 and swing. So you can swing, you can buff himself up to +2/+2. You can untap him, and then you can buff something else up +2/+2, untap him, and then swing again.
So my personal favorite thing to do with Wattam Ball is mono green, and in running a card that hasn't really seen play. It's running Enforced Loyalty. So you pay 2, you kill a unit, you draw 2 cards, and then Wattam Ball can swing and give a unit +2/+2. So you draw 2 cards, give a unit +2/+2. I think that's great. So
Bellissimo.
I think ultimately I'm going to give Wattam Ball like a 4 out of 5. I think he's really good. At Spiel, we got a couple more cards. Sadly, we saw what the trench art was. The card's really cool. It's pretty much just like a weirder Emperor's Legion. Yeah. But you get a body out of it. And he costs. He's if you kill something, he's a 5/5 for 5. Lets you return some stuff, whatever. But we did see a legendary. Who cares about that? We did see Jar Jar Binks. We did see
Ahsoka Tano.
Oh, okay, fine. I guess we'll talk about the legendary.
Ahsoka Tano, legendary, cunning heroism, which is looking real fun in this set. I'm very keen to see what the now.
Finally.
I'm very keen to see what the second leader is, because if it is Ahsoka Tano, I'm amazing.
I'm glad that
we already have an Ahsoka. We're not going to get 2 Ahsoka leaders in one set. You make a good point there, audience.
I'm glad that we have more than just Yellow Han.
Absolutely.
Finally.
Quinlan Voss is fantastic, and I'm keen to see what they do with the other one. But this Ahsoka Tano, very, very cool. 3 cost, cunning. Heroism, 3/4, good stat line.
Great stat
Love
line.
that.
That's that Ezra stat line.
Ezra stat line. While you control fewer units than your opponent, this unit gains ambush.
So she can just come in and smack. But that's not all, because for an action and paying 2 resources, you can return this unit and each upgrade on this unit to their owner's hand.
Absolutely.
That's huge.
It's absolutely huge, and it's really, really cool. Especially when you take into account something like, I don't know, maybe her lightsaber that came through from the starter decks, Ahsoka's Padawan lightsaber. This is a very interesting card because it is attached to a non-vehicle unit. When played, if attached unit is Ahsoka, you may attack with a unit. And it's +2/+0.
Attack with a unit.
Not the unit it was attached to.
So you could ambush Ahsoka in, you could pay 1 and put the lightsaber on her, and then attack with something else. You could attack with you could pay 1 and put it onto her and attack with her in one go, and then you could bounce her and you get this back. I think that this lightsaber is really good, and I think one thing that people need to do with this lightsaber is remember that, it's great on Ahsoka, but you're bouncing her back, just put it on something else.
It's a 1 cost +2/+0, which is just
That's a hot shot.
That's a hot shot.
Yeah.
We love hot shots.
In neutral hero, that's really solid. So I think that this is
neutral hero.
Yeah, I think this is really good. And with Ahsoka at the legendary and this lightsaber, I'm going to give them both a 3.5 out of 5. I think they're really, really solid. I don't know where they fit in the decks just yet, but I'm optimistic that they're going to be really good.
You know that I'm going to be running a red-yellow Ahsoka deck. You better believe it.
I actually think that might go pretty hard.
Oh, it's going to get real hard. I'm really excited for it.
Skipping past Poggle the Lesser,
we don't want to talk about it.
We have our next hero legendary. We got no villain legendaries this week.
Was complete. This legendary came out, and there was absolutely no hate on it. There was no craziness about it. Nothing. It's a super normal legendary. Just think of it as like, rule with respect. One that you'll never use. Don't worry about it.
This is Obi-Wan's wife, Satine Kryze, committed a piece. She costs 4. She's Vigilance, Mother of God, hero.
Mm-hmm.
She's a 0/6 Mandalorian official. Now, I actually do like a couple of things with this card. Each unit, including enemy units, gains. What does it do, James? Tell me. Break my heart.
Action. Tap the unit.
That's not that bad.
Discard cards from an opponent's deck equal to half this unit's remaining HP. Round it up.
Oh, lordy. So you can put Mandalorian armor on her, and she gets a shield. She becomes a 1/9, and she mills your opponent for 5. Now, some of you out there might be like, "Oh my god, these guys must hate this card." We actually don't.
I love this.
And there's a reason for that. The reason we don't like the current mono blue control mill is because all it does is kill stuff and mill your opponent. I think that this is what control should be. I think with another leader coming up, I think we'll get a common misconception. We got a lot of people mentioning in our video, maybe we weren't clear enough. I'm not a big fan of playing control. James loves control. We don't hate control. We think it's a very relevant and good playstyle that's healthy for games. When it's only sitting there and killing stuff and the deck is forgiving you for killing stuff, then admittedly there has to be some agency of going, maybe it doesn't take a lot of skill to do. Whereas this card makes you change that. You have to have units in your deck.
Yes, absolutely. This card does not work with our current iteration of mill.
No.
It works as a separate mill type. And this is a card that is going to be very confusing to people because they're going to see it and they go, wow, I've been getting milled. This is going to make it worse.
But I also think that ultimately my biggest problem with mill, maybe we shouldn't have called it mill as well. The biggest problem with it is that it's always at the end and it's really grindy. If someone builds a turbo deck like this, I don't mind losing because I think mill is closer to aggro than it really is.
Do you know what I'm going to build with this? Do you know what I'm going to build with this? You're like, oh, he's going to build Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah,
he's going to build Yoda. Wink, wink, no, what's coming up? I'm not. I'm playing this in a green-blue Rex deck.
Wow, yeah, because you buff all of your clones
to 3, and they can each tap for 2. Absolutely.
Wow. That's actually really cool.
I will build this deck that spams out clones and taps them all down to mill you.
You get to run...
and then
outspoken official because then you can mill them, and then when you kill it, you get a clone. That's a really cool deck.
See, this is the kind of mill deck I want to play.
This is also really good for the game because cards and decks like what James is talking about counter that control deck because you're milling them quicker than they can control you. Satine dodges most removal.
It does.
Because
that
she's
is
a
really
0/6. So ultimately, I'm actually really happy with Satine because I think that it adds in what we were missing in set 2. Set 2 was a bit tough because it is control and Boba heavy. Wow, is he an issue?
I think you are going to start to see some more mill decks.
Yeah.
And I think
but I don't think it's
careful
be that bad.
about how much you immediately hate on that mill deck.
Yeah.
Because I don't think, it isn't the mill decks of past made better. It's going to be a new version of mill, and I'm really excited to actually build my Rex mill deck, and I think it's going to be really fun.
I think it's going to be on par with most value mid-range decks, and I think it's going to healthily counter decks like Control.
Absolutely.
Which means the only thing that is left to deal with is Boba Fett. So hopefully we get some there. But I think Satine is really cool. I think she adds an interesting dynamic to the game. Hopefully that clears up some of the people's...
Getting to 9 resources, paying 9, and going, ooh, thank you, I'm going to play my home 1 and play out Satine.
Ooh. But I think ultimately, hopefully that clears up some of the misconceptions from the Big Blue episode we had as to why we're okay with this card. I give her a 4 out of 5. We do have... another blue leader.
We do.
I
we
really
did
like
allude
this guy.
to him before.
Darkness I sense.
Yoda sensing darkness. He didn't sense any
sense
darkness. He did a very bad job of sensing darkness.
Really bad this is. War we're in. I will think about it. He commits war crimes.
Is obviously a vigilance leader.
Yeah,
no one expected anything else. Everyone knew what this was going to be.
Master
but his
Yoda.
ability is quite interesting.
Before we continue, the artwork on Yoda is absolutely awesome. This artwork is so good.
Very good. Very happy.
What
with
he
his
do
artwork.
though?
What he do? He is action. Tap him. If a unit left play this phase, draw a card. Then put a card from your hand on the top or bottom of your deck.
Ooh, spicy. There is
cycling.
There is a deck that has been going around in set 2 that I really like and that I am super excited to test out with Yoda. Yellow, blue, ray droids, but I think you run Yoda because you can top deck manipulate with C-3POs and R2s. You can top deck manipulate with the new R2, and it doesn't just say defeat it. It says when he leaves place, you can bounce units, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of what I think that the ability should have been more what Boba is, where he was untap 1. Yeah. But he flips at 7.
Sure does. I do want to say you're my only hope.
True. And
put a card on top of your deck. Play it. Draw a card, put a card on top of the deck, your man, your home, play it.
I didn't think about this, and now I really want to do this. But let's move on. So
the dream.
I believe he's a 4/9, flips
He's
at
a
7.
4/9, flips at 7.
Just like Yoda, he's got Restore 2, and he has when deployed, you may discard a card from your deck. If you do, you may defeat a unit with HP equal to, with remaining HP equal to or less than the flipped card, non-leader unit as well, so you can't kill leaders.
Absolutely.
And this is really interesting. So just to clear it up again, this wording hasn't come up a lot in the game, but it does come up here and there. When it does say discard a card, no, you cannot search for that card because your deck is a random area. It's just the top card, but that's the whole point. You stack with him. He can put the cards at the top or bottom. This is really cool. A one-time removal effect on a leader is pretty solid. He flips at 7, really nice.
Especially when you can load it up with kind of higher cost cards and flip a high thing and kill pretty much anything.
Yeah, look, honestly, I really like
free
this.
Removal is free removal and always be free removal.
Yeah, I like this because it's like, cool, I've seen 2 Lukes. I put one on the top.
Yeah.
I flip it. I kill this. That's really solid. And then you play the other Luke from your hand because your opponent goes, oh, well, he's just flipped his Luke. It's gone. And then they play something and you go, haha, baited Luke. -6/-6. So I really like Yoda. I think he's really cool. I've been looking forward to this leader. I remember I said, I think like way back in set 1, I was like, I'm really excited because I think set 3 we're going to get like a Yoda leader. I like the little war criminal.
It'd be a damn shame if someone caused a bunch of lightning to fly around and then he had to go to a swamp.
That's going to be the red hero leader who does that. Anakin Skywalker. But before we get to that, I'm going to give Yoda a 4 out of 5. I think he's really good. I think this is a decent control leader. But I think
you've given 90% of leaders 4 out of 5.
I think this set's really promising. I think
of all time.
Yeah, I think a lot of leaders, but I think that's because a lot of leaders show a lot of promise. This game does something better than most games do, and that's make everything seem interesting. I like when you're a boy, and your old man friend is being assaulted.
Yes.
And he's like, help me, I'm so weak.
So weak.
I'm so weak.
Too weak.
And the other guy, who is probably like a police officer or a well-respected person, is like, hey, he's evil. And then you go, okay, well, I've got a tough choice. I'm going to attack this guy. Yeah. And then suddenly unlimited power.
Suddenly unlimited power. Which is a double red card, which it should be.
It should be. I'm glad it is. This is absolutely... I've been waiting for a card like this.
Absolutely. We knew it was coming.
I love it so much.
This is a 6-cost aggression. It's a real aggressive.
It is.
That says deal 4 damage to a unit.
That's good. That's just open fire, though.
Yeah. Deal 3 damage to a second unit.
Whoa, all right, that's pretty good.
Then deal 2 damage to a third.
Wow, all right, that's great.
And 1 damage to a fourth.
Okay. This is absolutely sick, and I legitimately cannot stress enough how much I want to build a mono red mace deck because of this.
Absolutely.
This is so...
It's really good. It's really, really good.
Bam, 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 flip
especially
mace.
In something that's trying to spam out tokens.
Yep.
You're like, no thank you.
I love this card. I think this is such a good card. I think red needed a board wipe like this.
Yes, I think red, it was something that red desperately needed.
Yeah.
I do wish you could stack more on one thing. I wish it was maybe like 5-4-3 and then done.
That would be really good.
4-3-2-1.
I don't mind the 4-3-2-1 because I think that it kills in a really nice curve, and then you can ping things in a way that make your opponent not want to trade. Plus, again, in decks like Mace Windu, this is absolutely huge because you can be all like, okay, so I'm going to outright kill this unit, and this unit. If I ping this unit, I'll get you to 5 with the mace ping to kill it. So it's really good. It allows like
mace
a lot of...
flips and deals 2 to everything, right? Like
yes,
that's his
but
thing.
His front side is also tap, deal 1 damage if the unit has 5 or more damage, deal another. True. So you can push a unit to 4, kill 2 or 3 other units, and then ping and kill a bigger health unit. So I think that it's really cool. It sets up Mace really well. It's a really big help to a lot of mono red mid-range decks. Like I know I want to run this in Cassian.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think
6 is a lot for it,
but I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
I think this is a card that mono red needs because let's say I'm playing Cassian. You and I are going tit for tat for tit for tat. But you hit that point where you overwhelming barrage me and I'm cooked. But if you're going tit for tat, and you're able to avoid that and then do this, you've then turned the game in your favor. And I think Red really needed that.
Absolutely, I completely agree. I think Mono Red needed something like this.
Yeah.
I hope Red. Like, obviously, we have quite a lot of damaging things coming through for Red. We've got, like, the Grenade Strike and the Bloody something.
Blood Sport deals 3 damage to all ground units.
So I think there's a lot of stuff coming through with this. It's really interesting. But we need to
I get
move
4.5
on.
out of 5. And then Grievous's Wheel came out. We're not really going to cover that. It's cool. I love it. But it's not as good as Ahsoka's lightsaber, I don't think. But don't quote me on that. Could be really good. But we got to get into this
old bad boy. So what we're going to do is we have a stack of cards in front of us. If you didn't see our previous tier list video, we completely randomized them. And by that I mean I kind of shuffled them a little bit and I can't remember what order they were in to begin with. So in essence, it's shuffled.
Yeah.
Then we're going to grab one. We're going to put it on the board. We are fully in control of where we put it.
Yep.
The other person has input via their words, but not via their fingers.
Yes, and ultimately, once again, this is fully our opinion. You might not agree with it. That's genuinely totally fine.
This is fully fact, 100% true, hard fact.
This
is not opinion. We are not doing this as a who is our favorite leader tier list. This is the meta-defining tier list. The one, the only. If you don't follow this, you will lose.
I think that's the problem with whenever I talk, sometimes I sound really serious, so people think I'm telling them fact. But no, a lot of this is opinion, and I think it's good. I think not him.
Everyone that I put on board, 100% fact.
And I mean, at the end of the day, right? You have your opinions too, and bad opinions can't exist without good opinions, so thank you for having a bad opinion. No, but just kidding. But we're going to dive into this. We're going to maybe talk a little bit about why these leaders are doing well, and then why we put them there. We're not going to go too long into it. So let's dive into it. After you, good sir.
After me? Well, if you insist.
Cad Bane? Oh!
Han Solo!
Audacious.
The audacious smuggler himself. This is set 1, Han 1. Which has had a resurgence recently, a little bit.
Dex saw a lot of success in set 1 with green.
Yes.
Saw pretty good success in set 2 with green for a little while. Saw great success with yellow.
Yes.
Dropped off for a little bit, but now it's back.
Apparently. So I haven't seen a lot about this. We have a few friends that have talked about this a lot and how good it can be. And apparently, the answer is very good. So, at the moment, meta's really weird. Blue took over.
Yeah.
It took over.
It did.
Boba has now come through, leading a still quite aggressive, but a little bit more control-based deck to be able to take stuff out of it, take important stuff out of your hand. A lot of kind of what they're going for, and a lot of plays that are kind of happening at the moment are things like Bazinga to take out the Making openings, so they can play the Phantom TIE Fighters.
Bang, 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 bang.
To take out the kind of counter to it, so it's kind of free against those decks and can do a lot of damage.
I think that's the big thing is, we made that blue video where we were like, oh, blue's really strong. And it is. It really is. But Boba's better than it because Boba can beat out everything right now, which is why we need a hero, an audacious one, a man whose playlines can't be predicted.
We do have a friend who's really high on this at the moment, so it is apparently very good into the Boba, very good into the control matchup. Yep. It's got the discard to kind of get around it, I think, and I think it's got a lot of really interesting things that it can do.
Yep.
I think this...
I agree. I agree with that because I think it can still get aggroed out pretty hard, but I think it has a decent matchup into... Boba has shifted into value.
Yes.
But because of Boba's inherent nature, he can still beat. Where I think that this is good against the control, good against Boba, struggles in aggro.
I think it's better. I think we kind of took everyone as a little bit of a gimmick.
Yeah.
And then it kind of fell off because everyone worked out the gimmick. And now it's kind of back because people forgot about the gimmick.
Maybe
it still runs that DJ play. Don't get it twisted. No, it still runs that DJ play.
DJ. I think the big thing with decks like this is there's two types of control currently running around. There's control, which is I would say maybe like your maybe like your blue Bobas, things like that, where they're still doing a bit of both. They've still got units, and then you've just got your grind fest, fucking skills, whatever. this is really good because it is really high skill. You have to know what your play's doing. And the biggest thing is it can do a lot of really weird stuff.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
your opponent doesn't know what you're going to do.
It's got a lot of shit it can do.
It's
and
really
a lot-
rewarding.
Absolutely.
But I think that it's good because if you're versing against a good control player, if you're versing against a good Boba player, they can still beat you. And I think that's really good. I definitely want to see decks that are strong and interesting, that reward high skill level play, but can still be beaten by a high skill level play. And I think that's where this sits. And I'm really happy with that.
Absolutely. All right, next one.
My turn. Ooh. Oh! Unlimited power. Uncle Palpy is back, and he's back with a vengeance. I actually think Palp's currently the most versatile leader in the meta because he can be run well with all 4 colors. Yellow Palp's really good, mono Palp's really good, red Palp's really good, blue Palp's really, really good. And I think it's just about how you want to build it.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of different Palps do well. I think the yellow version is my favorite. I think that's a really interesting deck. It's
I
one
agree.
you might be seeing in a future gameplay. Not this one, but maybe a future one, because I'm keen to play it.
I like the fact that you can build it red, pivot against aggro, pivot against Boba, and you've got the hand discard for control. I like that you can build it mono green and actually do really well with like the overwhelming value. I really like the blue version because that's the kind of control I'm talking about, where it doesn't mill you. It wants to get to the mid game. It wants to Reinforcement Walker, Avenger, it wants to Emperor's Royal Guard, and then it wants to get to the late game and overwhelm you. As a control deck should. They should have an out. They should hit that point in the game where they've been like, cool, I've controlled you all game, flip, steal your best unit, play an Avenger, play a Devastator, play a Reinforcement Walker. Like, that's cool. Yeah. That's really cool to see. I think Palpatine's really, really good, but I don't think it's S tier. I think Palpatine still can struggle really hard into aggro.
Absolutely. It's definitely its worst matchup.
This is good this has a semi-decent matchup in aggro, but man, can this just get blown out. And I think that's a huge issue with Palpatine currently. And I think that's where, like, if you're a high skill player, you can definitely get around it. And I've seen like a lot of people. I think one of the biggest things about Palpatine is I don't think I've seen an unskilled player pick up Palpatine. I think it's definitely
quite a skill-intensive deck.
And I really like that. I like that people are drawn to it, and they're like, and it's good because I get to play against people, and they do get to, if I get beaten by it, I'm usually like, wow, like you played that really well. Like I get to see what that person's capable of, and I think that's really good. But I think the downside with that is it can be tough sometimes because you might be a really, really good player, but sometimes that Sabine player just, ECL's Wrecker and then plays a second Wrecker, and you're like, well, got me. So that's where I think that sits. Who's next?
Who is next indeed? Let's see. Ooh, we have the one, the only Rey Skywalker. I just do that to annoy people.
I like it. Somehow Palpatine returned.
Rey, our resident hero mono blue deck, or blue-red.
Or blue-yellow.
Or blue-yellow, as
we've seen. Yeah.
Rey had a huge showing, especially in Australia. I don't know about the rest of the world, but it is huge in Australia at the moment. Well, it was about a couple of weeks ago. I don't know how much has changed. I doubt much.
I really like that she can be built as yellow aggro. I like that she can be built as red-blue mid-range. And then there's there's that grindy control Rey that you can pick up and play as well if you want to play mono blue. Green with Rey is a bit lacking because I think that green is best exemplified by its villain cards currently. Green Hero has a lot of really good cards. I just don't think they fit Rey's playstyle. I think next set we're going to see a big resurgence in that because, to be completely honest with you, Rex is kind of like the Green Hero leader people have been missing. But I think that right now, Rey does cover the other bases really well. I really, really like that droid's aggro Rey that was running around. And I think that won an event, they won like a 50-player event here in Australia or something like that. Or it came close. It was in the finals.
And the red version we know has been pretty consistent throughout. It's just been a really cool, interesting force control deck.
Alternate way to play Han. If you want
but it's very different in its kind of play style.
I think Han 2 is more higher skill cap in the sense that you're risking a lot more, but the reward's higher. Whereas Rey's really good because she has that healing. She has that okay, I can fall back on this and capitalize it. As a skillful player, I can capitalize on this.
Now I'm going to put this somewhere on the tier list, and some of you might not agree with me for its pure power and strength. My counter argument to that is this leader is the easiest and the most forgiving leader to play in Star Wars Unlimited. And I think her ability to be able to just pick up and play at a level that can compete on a high level cannot be understated. And a lot of people are going to use this leader to get into those
Restore
top
3
tables.
is just so good. Restore 3 is
and that's why
incredible. I agree. No,
it's the bottom of S,
yeah.
but it's S tier.
And that's what I was saying before. Is I don't think she's a skillless leader, but I think that I do think she requires a lot of skill. If you want to if you want to win an event, you need to be really good.
Absolutely.
But I think that she's a leader that will carry you honestly pretty far. Like I think you could comfortably be like, oh, I'm pretty confident in my abilities. I might not be as good as these 3 people.
Blocking her.
Oh, sorry. I might not be as good as these 3 people who go to my locals. But, you bring this. You're a competent player. She heals 3. She gives you that cushion. You'll top 8. I think you will. I think if you're a competent player and you pick Rey up, you'll top 8. I think if you're a skillful player, honestly, it's getting pretty hard to say no one in this game has no skill because a lot of people are doing really well.
Oh, absolutely.
But I think that it's I think that if you're a newer player and you're more like, oh, I want to do well competitively, but I'm not sure, pick up Rey. Legitimately, pick up Rey. I think that
I think Rey would be the deck that I like. It wouldn't be the competitive version of Rey.
No.
Rey would definitely be a deck that I would give to a person who wanted to get into the game to see how the game works because it's just such a forgiving leader that it can really help you out with learning the game.
I think
in a way where you will have an even playing match against a lot of people.
She's forgiving, and that helps develop skill in new players, and it helps heighten skill in competent and skillful players.
Yes.
And that's why I think she's so high up. And one big factor, her versatility. Again, you can build her 3 very competitive ways, and even the green one is still pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's see.
Next one, let's see.
Oh. Where
are you? Oh,
we here at the Spy Squadron
I know where I would put this. I'm very curious of where you will put this.
We here at the Spy Squadron absolutely love Cad Bane.
We do.
He is an absolute hero in our eyes.
I love him blue. He loves him red.
I love him in any color in between. I think this leader is really interesting. I think it's really powerful. I think it can steal wins. And I think that's an issue, is it can steal wins. I think when I have played Cad Red, I've either won or I've just won or I've lost. And I think that's the big issue. And when I feel like I've just won or I've lost is when I come up to those more competitive decks. I've beaten a Bossk Blue with this. I've beaten a Rey Red with this. I've beaten a Boba with this a couple of times. But
she has a good match into the aggro version of Boba.
It does. But this isn't Boba, and that's a huge thing. I think that it did win a big event in Brazil, I believe. And it was a blue deck that was really good, it evolved into Bazine. I don't know if it's evolved or devolved, because they just literally went Bazine, restock, Vigilance.
It was a Cad Blue deck, and it does have a fair amount of mill in it. And a lot of my games went to mill as well with that deck.
It.
I think what it has a lot of very strong qualities. The main thing is I think it's the best control deck into aggro.
Yeah.
Not to say other controllers can't do it, but I think this does it the best.
It has a really good early game, and it has an incredible mid game, but it sacrifices its late game.
Yeah, even the blue version just can't
keep
up
late finishing,
game. And unless you're going for that mill victory.
Which is kind of rough, because ultimately, if you're going for that mill victory,
you may as well be playing mono blue.
Mono blue does it better because your vigilance is at 4. You've got more options. So I think Cad Bane is like smack dab in the middle of B. I think
that is exactly where I would have put it.
I think you can get him to top. I think that you can get him to 8th.
Stop blocking Rey.
I think you can get him to 8th. I don't know if you can go higher than that. I think
you definitely can.
I think you
and
can.
Good players will take him further.
People definitely have.
Any of these decks that we show today, a very good player can win a tournament with them. They can. If they know what they're doing, and that means you.
That means you.
But this is our kind of take on where the meta sits at the moment. and what's good and what's...
And there are a lot of people experimenting as well. So
and like, there's a lot of leaders that are like, it's better than this. It's like, yeah, but they're not even on this tier list.
No.
So we have 12 leaders, by the way. We've done 1/3. Next up, Hondo.
I love Hondo.
And Hondo is a very, very fun deck to play. It is probably one of the funnest decks I picked up in set 2. The blue-green Hondo, and the ability to really ramp up on things. Huge. It's matchup into a lot of these decks. Huge.
Yeah.
It's matchup into Boba.
So Hondo has a really, really good matchup into control because it can use resources without using the hand, and you can side in stuff like No Bargain and things like that. It's absolutely incredible into aggro because you just get early sentinels and then you get out of childs and they can't do anything.
Yep.
It really struggles into Boba, and right now, if you know anything about this game, you know that if it struggles into Boba, it's not gonna do too well.
It's not gonna do too well. This deck is one of the funnest decks that I've picked up in set 2. Genuinely one of my favorites, and I hope we get some more stuff to push it further.
I bought a
set
showcase
3,
to play this leader,
and you had a blast with him.
He's amazing.
And
still one of my favorite
the
decks.
Showcase is fantastic. He is.
This leader is good. You can make it to top 8 if you can practice into the Boba match. It's definitely not unbeatable.
To me, yes, we do have a D tier. Probably not going to use it.
Nah.
But just because of these other meta leaders, we don't put any of the meta like the big leaders
meta
to
can
us.
really be D. And this isn't a leader
he is
review.
definitely at the bottom of the meta.
This is just in the most current meta. I think the biggest problem with Hondo is that Boba thing. Boba is so widespread, and Boba is getting to the point where if you play Boba really well, it's almost unbeatable.
Yeah.
If you play Boba middlingly well, it's really good, and that's why we're seeing so many people bring it, is because it has the most consistent win rate against every archetype.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I guess we could change our answer on does FFG have a Boba problem to, probably.
Well, we'll see when set 3 comes around, because I think there is a few things in set 3 that does help Boba, but we shall see.
But ultimately, I think that's the biggest thing is right now where Hondo would be higher if Boba wasn't the current most widespread leader. All right. Waka Waka. Oh!
Ooh.
Non-audacious.
Not the audacious
But he is
one.
worth the risk.
He is worth the risk.
This guy is a good guy. I really like this deck because I think it is a high finesse, high skill, high risk reward deck.
Yes.
And I really
Both versions.
Both versions. Both versions. The blue one and the is it green? Green? Yeah, green with the Han weenies is really fun. I think it's a deck that at the best of times can compete with Sabine. I think it just falls a little short on the consistency scale.
I love the Maz Kanata card, and I love the deck being able to utilize that
it's really
really,
cool.
really well, and use things like the Ewing reinforcements to kind of have that be huge, and that's really, really cool. I really enjoy that deck.
For reference, our locals get pretty big here. In our town, we get about maybe in our city, we get maybe 20 to 30 people every week at our locals around that, 20 to 30 around that. And it usually middles out about 21, 22. And I won with a Han Weenies deck at one of our locals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's really good. And a lot of people play it, and I think that it's really solid. I think that its blue version is absolutely incredible. I think if you get a good player to pick this deck up and you watch them go, it's like, oh my god, how they do, this is wild.
Yeah.
And I think that's his
I think this is a
barrier
very
for
high
entry.
skill. Yes,
Yeah.
a very high skill ceiling, but also a very high barrier of entry for this
That's
deck.
a barrier of entry.
I think this is a deck
Yeah.
where you can pick up the blue version and go, this deck sucks.
Yeah.
And you'd be valid in that because without the right plays, this deck falls apart. This is not Ray. This does not have that really cruisy barrier of entry.
It is high risk, high reward.
Yes.
I think if you play this deck and you play it well, I think you're really smart.
Yes.
I think
You'll do well.
I think you're really, really smart. I think that this blue deck, I think this blue red hunt is still floating around. I think it's still really good. I think its barrier to entry is its only problem. I do think it does go here though, because I do think that it's A tier undoubtedly, but I do think that it still gets clapped pretty hard by Boba, and then it does come up against. It can get it falls victim to the same thing that this does really well, that this red does really well, and that the other Boba does really well, and that's hand discard. This deck, control decks can maybe stifle it and come back from the healing, but this doesn't have that. So if you're pillage, and they get their crate dragons gone, you just win. And it can be real tough for them to come back from it, or even just like Bodhi rooking them or Bazining them. Like a Bazine can be huge into this this leader. So I think
no, that makes sense. Let's see what we have next to Rooney.
Who up next? Boba question mark?
No, it is Iden.
She versioing.
Iden Versio is certainly a leader that exists in Star Wars Unlimited. And
she hasn't changed much.
Hasn't changed at all. No. Not even a little bit.
Well, she got Phil the Dragon now.
Oh, well.
But no.
This is a deck that is, to me, one of the bigger problems of SWU in a way where... So we had a whole episode about the mono blue thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you've watched it, maybe you haven't. But essentially we talked about how easy it was to just sit there and remove everything and just kind of...
And do nothing.
The game just ends in your favor.
Yeah.
This is the queen of that.
Yeah.
She is the queen of doing that. And unfortunately...
I mean, like, even Rey tries to top end with, like, Luke's and Obi-Wan's and stuff a lot of the time. But this is just...
If you are trying to beat it and it is part of your meta and it's always there and you're ready for it, it can be beaten. If anybody forgets that this exists, it will beat them 100% of the time. Yeah. You cannot beat this deck without knowing that it exists and having counters to it in your deck. It is similar to Boba in that way, where this deck forces a certain amount of... If you are playing a blue deck, you need to run restocks. That's it. There's no if and or buts about it.
We mention it in the episode, and it's the same problem that we're facing with Boba Fett and mono blue decks like this, is the fact that it's format warping where you have to include counters to these decks, either main deck them or side deck them, and that takes up relevant space that you could be using for unfavorable matchups compared to your leader and deck archetype, which is... really difficult. Like that's what causes Boba to get ahead so easily, is because if you're taking against control, you can't really stop Boba. If you take against just Boba, the control just beats you. And if you take against either of those, Sabine loves what she sees. So I think that's the problem, is it limits the deck creativity where you falter into what originally would be a rock, paper, scissors, but falls more into just a ping pong match of, is it Boba or is it control? And neither of those, a lot from the general consensus from what I can see, is neither of those a lot of people are having fun with. I mean, Boba is, at least I think Boba's not too bad, because at least it can feel impossible, but the player at least has to practice a lot, has to have a lot of really good skill with it. The problem with that Iden deck is you can pick it up, and if you have any competency in the game, just remove. Yeah. Sit back, relax, vigilance, mill you for 6, heal 5, mill you for 6, heal 5. And then it's the same thing. And then decks like this, a lot of the time they're like, oh yeah, I run Avenger in the sideboard because I don't need to run it in the main board. Yeah. And it's like, that's really tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's one of those situations where this is a deck that exists in Star Wars Unlimited. We have to accept that unfortunately you have to be aware that it accepts, and it's going to be an S tier.
Oh Lord, she coming. But again,
these two are interchangeable. I honestly would probably put Rey a little bit higher. We'll say these aren't necessarily ordered.
No.
But Rey, I would say I would put Rey a little bit higher, just because I like the diversity of Rey.
Yeah.
More than... I think this is one deck. There is only one deck. Yeah. There's only ever been one deck.
The diversity for her has been replaced by Kira. Kira's really interesting.
Which you might see a little bit later.
Oh, we might see right now.
Right now.
This is Kira.
Wow.
So Kira has the same thing that Mono Blue Iden does. She does it a little bit worse. You can play Mono Blue. But Kira runs really well red or green, and she's really good because she's still unit-based. I like Kira because she's true to the spirit of the game, which is trading units in the arenas.
Yes.
She still has that removal. I would consider Kira a healthy version of what Control is, where she might have a lot of removal cards. Yeah. She still has units and an end game to finish you with.
Yeah, and that's what the green brings most of the time.
Or it the brings red, those big Ruthless Raiders or Palpatines.
Now, here is what I'm going to say about Kira. To me, Kira is Rey's other decks. So all of Rey's decks are good.
Yeah.
Mono Blue Rey's probably the best Rey.
Yes. Healing in that deck.
The other two, the red and the yellow, are good decks.
They're great decks.
But I wouldn't put those two decks alone in S tier. With the blue deck, I put them in S tier.
Yeah.
Iden is just the mono Blu-ray.
Yes.
This
is
the other two decks.
It's what it equivocally it's what it equivocally would be. A deck that you can win with, a deck that you can easily top with, and a deck that carries you because of its turns of like. I think the biggest thing is if you come up against a player who knows what you're going to do with the overwhelming barrage flip, you're cooked because they're just outplay you. Yeah. And they are literally just that good.
And you need to be aware of it. You need to be aware of that turn. You need to know how to counter it.
A lot of players can't prepare for that, even if they see it coming, and a lot of players don't know that it's coming, and that's why she's got a little boon. But also, the red version is still pretty good because it generates value. It has a more control-y oriented where she like kill, but then she starts playing units in the late game and beats you to death. So I think that's pretty good. I think ultimately she's really solid, but she falls to the same pitfalls that the big man here does, and that she doesn't have just enough what it takes to get to the top.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Still really good, though.
It is Bossk.
Oh, Lord.
Bossk is a really interesting one to me because Bossk is not played as Bossk.
No. You know Bossk, the deck I built where it ran like really interesting bounties, had a bunch of bounty hunters, was really awesome, was really
fantastic.
Fun. This runs 3 bounties.
Yep.
They have the same
6.
card. Does it?
Yep.
What other... Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. It
Top
runs...
target,
and Deathmark. And you only run them for one reason and for one use. This Bossk deck's whole goal is, once again, to mill your opponent out and grind them down, and one time draw 4 cards, or even one time heal 12. And if you can do that, you're like, awesome, I've won. And it's just kind of like...
If you can't do that, then it's like, awesome, I can't just lose.
That sucks.
This deck is, to me...
It's really good, though.
The epitome of the problem with blue.
Yeah.
And I think, in doing so, has actually become the worst blue deck.
Yeah.
Because it has taken everything that blue can do and made it gimmicky. It's made it this level of... And is the most predictable. It is the most obvious, and is the one with the least game plans. Other than I'm just gonna mill you. This is a mill deck.
It relies too heavily on the leader as well.
Yeah.
If you can flip which is why it just gets cooked by Boba, because your leaders flip at the same time, but your leaders are not the same. Boba with Boba's armor one-shots Bossk and takes 2 damage back. Oh. It ain't happening like that. So I think that Bossk, and interestingly enough, he has tried to build a mill deck, but he loses to the regular mill decks because they have everything that he wants cheaper. Yep. They heal better because that's Blue's thing. And he ends up just getting put to the wayside because you rely too much on the gimmick of the leader. And once again, unfortunately, bounties are in this deck, and again, they don't offer any benefit. Nope. Bounty is an awesome mechanic, but the problem is it's not... They didn't make the cards powerful enough to be good. And I think that Bossk is awesome, and I absolutely adore Bossk. I love yellow-red Bossk. But that bounty itself is let down, and by that factor, why would you not just play a leader that has Restore 3 written on it instead of top target?
I would love to put it in D if it was doing my personal favorite decks. It would be going in D, but it's not. This is objective fact, and it's top of B.
Oh yeah, this is good. This deck, if you're competent with it, will smooth sailing you into top 8. And then you might have some challenges beating out the Bobas and stuff like that. But I think that's the thing, is you can coast in to like top 8, just like Cad, you can make it in.
I think this deck came about where someone went, I don't want to play with just mono blue control. I want to play Bossk. I really like Bossk. And then slowly went, well, I need this to counter this, and I need this to counter this, and this to counter this. It's the same way I ended up with Cad Blue, and they ended up with Bossk Blue. It's a very similar thing of I'm trying to make a fun deck, and I accidentally made blue control.
And suddenly you've only got like Pershings and the clients in the deck and nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
Alrighty, who's up next?
Here he is. We talked about him all episode.
Bam.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
Bam.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bam.
He is the
center.
best leader in the game.
Absolutely.
I like from day one, I have not been a fan of Boba Fett. You can attest to this.
Okay.
I didn't really like him because I thought his ability was too generic and too good. And we came up against a couple of decks, and I was like, if this is a playstyle of Smooth, I don't want to be a part of it. And it happened. Boba is just so good.
And he's part of it.
Boba's
And he's
just-
stuck here.
Boba's just so good.
You guys keep him here.
No, whoa. Whoa. I mean, they didn't make the leader.
No, isn't you here? They keep you here.
Oh yeah, they keep me here. You guys keep me here because I love you. I think my biggest thing, like Boba frustrates me, but let's look at it from an objective. The reason Boba is so good is because he flips early. He's an aggressive started leader. He has the best space unit in the game, and he has the best upgrade in the game. An upgrade which you can side out for better cards in other matchups. And because of all of these factors, he beats out aggro because it can't beat him when he flips and middles. He beats out control because he can out aggro control. And when Boba comes against Boba, well, boy, howdy, you better hope you get the fire spray first. And at the end of the day, that's all it is. He's the most consistent leader because he utilizes his cards the best, and you don't necessarily need to change it. He's got a lot of options. Those options always take the same paths, and that's the best thing. Generic leader, high stats, really good options.
Hell yeah.
And he does it the best.
He does it the best, and that's why he's at the top of S. And
Boo.
he's at the top of S tier. He is
Stinky.
the best leader in the game.
He is.
He is.
Who's next?
All right. Can only get worse from here. Oh, but does it get worse? Because it's Kylo Ren.
So this is the wacky races of decks.
Yeah, absolutely. No one expected this to be up in top cut, but it's been top cut a few times.
And what do we say here on the Spy Squadron about Kylo Ren? Why is he up the top there? It's because he steals wins.
Dirty.
He's man.
He's dirty. It's a dirty deck. I love it. It's a dirty deck.
In case you don't know, this sneaky little gentleman has been utilizing red, yellow vehicle triple dark raid decks to just get out ATSTs and just get out Ruthless Raiders, and like it's wild because it works.
It does. It just works.
You're just like playing silencers early. So you turn one silencer, you play the ATST, you kill the ground, then you flip Kylo, then you swing, and it's like, yeah, right, okay, this is turbo aggro, and it either wins or it either loses, but man, is it dealing like 15 damage on turn 3.
Absolutely, and we're seeing quite a lot of this come up, and I would actually love to...
I think the biggest thing with this deck is it blows out hard if it loses, but it's also the most frustrating thing to lose too, because you're just sitting there like, how, like, because it is like this leader and this deck. Kylo's,
and it's proven itself that it is good.
Yeah.
It does. It has one stuff, and it is good
multiple times. And I think the biggest thing is though, if you're a really skillful player with this, you're going to be looking like, this is whack. I think you're the same kind of person who enjoys this if you play that, because you're like using your brain a lot. You're making really intelligent plays, and I think that this deck is really interesting. But again, I think it's really dirty to lose to, because you literally could just lose to them RNGing the God pull off of Triple Dark Raid.
Oh yeah,
and then just being like, this sucks.
All right. We have a predicament.
Yeah.
We're out of room in A tier.
I don't think he's A tier.
Really?
I think
he has proven himself more than some of these A tier leaders.
No. I think that he's still too gimmicky. Ooh. I definitely think he...
I know what the last leader is.
I also know what the last leader is.
And I think this is better than the last leader.
I disagree. I think the last leader has more consistency than this in terms of the aggro, and I think this
is done better in recent tournaments, though.
Yes, but it's more explosive, and it can blow out harder. So the thing is, we notice this when we see it because it's an uncommon leader, but how many people brought this for this to work? Because it's also a bit of a meme, like hearing like this guy won with Kylo's spaceships, and you're like, I gotta try Kylo's spaceships, and you try and it doesn't RNG well, and you get blown out, and you're like, Kylo's spaceships kind of sucks. And then your old buddy next to you was like, dude, the whole night I God pulled and I won locals with Kylo's spaceships, and it's like, damn. I think it's just too heavy on the RNG.
Is it bad that I want to put it there?
I think it's above Cad.
No, as in like between the two tiers.
Oh, yes, 8.5.
Yes.
8.B.
Okay, and hear me out here.
I think it's top of B tier, personally. I can live with that. We've gone back on our word. D tier is in use.
Yeah,
but
sorry,
I can
Hondo.
live with that. I can live with that. I think that he's just not good enough to be an A tier because I think that the times he has gotten into top 8, he's squeaked in. He's not like.
But he's gotten into top 4.
I
in
think
top 2s and stuff like that as well.
And I think those people are just genuinely really good players. And I think if you gave them any other deck, they would do just as well.
Oh, let me just make some adjustments so you know where I want to put this last leader.
That is so controversial. The last leader is.
I know it is.
The last leader is Sabine Ren.
It is Sabine Ren.
Galvanized revolutionary. Bro, she S tier though.
No.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Against these, she doesn't beat any of these.
Actually, no, that's right. She gets out-healed by this, she gets out-healed by this, and she just gets beaten to death by
aggroed
this.
or outvalued by that.
I think the problem is, I think she's at least mid-A tier because she beats all of these.
Well, which one are you putting down?
Me?
Because these are all yours.
Which one am I putting? I put this down.
Really?
Yeah. I think that it gets blown out too hard, and then I think that
By this.
Yeah.
And this.
Yeah, and I think that this belongs here because get over here because I think Palpatine's good, and I think I love his. He's gone.
He's gone out of C tier.
I love his ability to adapt, but I think that if I'm going to look at it this way, I think Palpatine can be beaten by Kira. I think Palpatine can be beaten by Han, and I think that it definitely gets beaten by this. And I think that's why I put it in middle A.
Yeah.
Is because, she doesn't beat these, but she does beat all of these. And the reason is because she got the consistency bump of Wrecker and Poe. If she didn't have Wrecker and Poe, she wouldn't be able to do it. But
I think that's something to look out for next set, though.
hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think that Kylo right now is middling. I think next set...
Middling within all the meta decks.
I think next set Man's a bomb because he's got a lot more low-cost spaceships to use. He's got a lot more mid-cost big beta vehicles to use. Like all those droid exploit cards. And then in a deck like this where you're spamming out units, losing your hand, exploiting out a giant guy is actually kind of good. So I think that... Kylo next set's going to be pretty hot, but I think that Sabine goes here because her consistency bump of Poe, her consistency bump of Wrecker means that she can beat out everything
you've got to
really
respect the fact that she's been around the entire time.
Oh, Lady Sabine.
She's never disappeared.
Back in my day, we couldn't just... Back
Which
in my
weird
day, we
because
just
this
developed
deck
the Force.
destroys Sabine with an absolute passion.
Yeah, but it has
Unfortunately,
to get,
it loses to everything else.
It has to get there. That's the thing, right? It has to get there.
Which is a weird situation when you have like decks down here that can absolutely destroy decks here, but lose to all this. So,
and I think that's the biggest point, right?
And therefore,
I think that's the biggest point is that she might lose to that.
Because this deck beats that and that. That is 50-50, but having a 50-50 matchup into Boba is the best you're going to get. So,
but you get your booty hole scrambled by Control.
The rest of it,
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is the way we've ranked these leaders is their matchups in performance, how we subjectively feel about them, and
the objective opinion of the entire world on how these rank.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I do think that we have gotten this fairly good. I definitely think Boba sits where he sits. Yep. I definitely think Rey's really good. I absolutely love Han.
I would understand people like putting Sabine in S and Iden in B.
Yeah.
I would understand that. I think Australia has a really control-heavy meta, so we see a lot of this, and we see a lot of this. So it's one of those situations where we probably see more of this stuff than you guys.
This would be higher, but again, it suffers to the same thing this is. It's a really high skill ceiling deck.
I also think this is quite new in its newest version. Yeah. It hasn't been proven yet, but it has potential.
But that's our little tier list. I think we're pretty happy with this.
If you've skipped this part of the video, hi, welcome to the video.
Hi.
Here's our tier list.
Bazinga. And then don't forget to comment without any rationale behind what we just explained.
Yeah.
Why would you put Hondo in D tier? In my better,
I didn't fell off in set 1. This is not good in set 2. Hondo shouldn't even been on this list. He's pretty much not. Come on, we wanted him. We like him.
And I can hear you uber muscular chads out there typing, hehe, Boba. Already. You absolute base people you out there. But never forget, no matter what leader you play, no matter what deck you play, you're always based because you're playing Swoo.
Hell yeah.
And not Lorcana.
Well, thank you very much for watching. This is our tier list of set 2's meta.
Right.
I will see you next week.
Yes. And
check out the gameplay.
I will.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.